Hello and welcome to another episode on ghost modeling. In this episode we finish the carro armato, drilling 544 holes, paint and weather this little tiny tank. First of all, I have to say that I was a little behind with this video, because I had a lot of work and very little time for my hobby. But I was able to finish it. It was a very fun build. I started by taking everything apart again, to start painting. Since I've learned from my mistakes building the T28, I take the whole running gear down to paint everything neatly. For priming, I used an oxide red primer from Vallejo, which worked well for me. I had the problem that it always stuck to my airbrush nozzle because it dries very quickly. When I was done with the priming, it was time for the ground color. I used sand yellow from Tamiya. The Tamiya colors works amazingly well. If you dilute everything properly, you are done quickly and it doesn't take that long to dry. With the tires, I noticed that they actually have holes. After I painted them all with rubber paint, I decided to drill the holes because they didn't leave me calm. I took a 0.8mm drill and drilled out 544 holes. This whole wheel thing took me almost 2 hours, but the success is easy to see. I had to drill very quickly so that it wouldn't melt the plastic and break everything. And sometimes the tiny little wheels did what they want. I have tried to make everything as detailed as possible, because I don't put any dirt or grime on the vehicle. You still see everything when it's finished. I paint the rubber parts black and started chipping on the running gear. I mixed sand yellow and white, so that I got a lighter shade. I have used the sponge and brush method, as I am a little familiar with this technique. Then I applied a brown panel liner, used as a paint wash and as a filter, to give the whole thing more depth. And of course, rust and crime effects. For the camouflage pattern, I used the airbrush. I made it as identical as possible to do the instructions. Unfortunately, the whole thing was not done for me without a little bit of overspray. In order to get sharp corners, I went over everything later with a brush. The next step was to cover everything with a matte varnish. I used a Tamiya varnish in a rattle can for this. Works well and you don't need to wash anything, and it runs nicely on the surface. The thing is only to recommend it. For the jerry cans, I go straight ahead as on the whole vehicle. I really like chipping, although you spend a lot of time with it. I have painted 4 of those canisters yellow, and I will paint 2 of them green with a white cross that stands for drinking water. So then we come to my least favorite technique, oil paints. Whenever I do that, I feel like I'm breaking everything. I'm just still unsure about this technique, although it is very useful and indispensable in the weathering process. I didn't use any decals often or so for the decals, and it wasn't really that problem to apply them to this model. I chose the captured Australian version, I just liked them the most. For the rust effect, I used streaking rust from ammo. Apply it over the metal parts, let it dry a little and wash it away with a little enamel thinner. A simple and effective technique. You just have to be careful not to overdo it. Otherwise everything is covered with this brown and it's just too monotonous. For the exhaust, I used an acrylic system from ammo. At first I used the metal color and built up the effect, step by step. The lightest rust tones was too bright for me, so I covered the exhaust with a streaking rust effect, for a more used and an older look. For the drag links I used a metal paint and a rust wash with a little dry brush with silver paint that I had in stash. Nothing special. Last but not least, I used black pigments and pigment fixer to put the finishing touches on the cannon muzzle and the exhaust system. Lash the stowage and the whole thing is done. The tank has become really nice. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if, maybe you give me a thumbs up or a subscription. Thanks for looking, and see you next time.